Yo, what is up guys? This is Troy D from the Troy D 24/7 Mall channel, your source for on point and no hype reviews. We are back yet again, everybody. We're back with another fragrance review right here, guys. And today I'm gonna take a quick break from all the spring summer fragrances that I have been reviewing. As you guys know, I have been back to back on all spring summer fragrances, old and new, and I still have a backlog for you guys. But today we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna go into Middle Eastern fragrances as we talk about the latest Nishane Middle Eastern based fragrance. Now before I continue, please do not forget to like and subscribe, guys, okay? Liking, subscribing, and watching the ads is a great big deal to this channel, guys. If you are into Middle Eastern based fragrances or oud, this is definitely the spot to be, because I do have a huge archive of oud fragrances to choose from, especially coming from this brand. And the fragrance we will be talking about today is none other than Nishane Mana. Yes, Nishane Mana. Oh boy, this sample right here was not cheap, and so is the bottle, okay? This is a very expensive fragrance, and I got this sample from Beverly Hills Perfumery, and I will share you guys a discount code from this channel to save some money and get some more samples from BHP if you guys choose to buy. Now this fragrance right here, Nishane Mana, is from the same lineage as Nefs, and if you know Nefs really broke the internet. It's a fan favorite really when it comes to Nishane, but it's more of like a special perfume. The price is not cheap. It's definitely higher than your average Nishane. It comes in a golden bottle, and so this is the latest to come from that line. Now usually oud fragrances like Mana or even Nefs, you know, they're not really hyped right now during the summer season. I mean, these fragrances are usually reserved for, you know, when it gets really cold, because these fragrances do have some nice warming effects. Now this fragrance though, when I found out about this fragrance and I was wondering why there was hype on this, well, guess what? It turns out to be yet another comparison, or people are comparing it to the great the great Ombre Nomade. Okay, so I guess that's where the hype is really coming from, the comparison between this fragrance Mana and Ombre Nomade. So of course, on top of describing this fragrance and giving you guys the no hype scent development, the true breakdown on this fragrance, I'll also throw it in there, a good comparison with Ombre Nomade, so you don't have to look anywhere else. All right, it's time to talk about Mana. Let's go spray this thing right now. Yeah. Okay guys, now let's talk about Nishane Mana. Now as you can see, I only sprayed this fragrance twice, and that's because when you have an oud fragrance and it's from Nishane, and Nishane never lacks in power and sillage, really you don't have to spray it a lot. Now here, I only sprayed it twice. It's a beautiful sillage right from the opening. This fragrance starts off with a very recognizable saffron rose oud mix. Yes, that's right. It's another one, guys. Saffron rose oud mix. And that's really where the comparison with Ombre Nomade is about, because of course, as you guys know, Ombre Nomade is yet another saffron rose oud mix. But of course guys, there's some differences right here that I will point out to those that really want to compare. I think that's where a lot of people are at. A lot of people are really wanting to compare their Ombre Nomade experience with this one. So I'll definitely give you guys the lowdown on that. But let me tell you guys, the start is saffron rose. Now let me talk about some slight differences here in the opening, guys. So right here in the opening, you are also going to get some cardamom, some black pepper, as well as ginger. And the ginger, on top of the usual spice mix of cardamom and black pepper, the ginger does add an uplifting zing to this whole thing right from the jump. So right from the jump, you're gonna get that really familiar saffron rose feel that you might have smelled not only in Ombre Nomade but in many other rose oud fragrances. But I will say this, that ginger is really nice, giving an uplifting zing to this opening right here. Now in this fragrance Mana, the mid notes actually pop up real early, and I'm talking about 5 to 10 minutes. This is mostly an oud mix of your intro notes and your mid notes pretty much coming together real early, guys. And then you have like this body of smell that really lasts for hours and hours, guys. So right here, guys, in the mid, you also have oud, you have cypriol oil, you have castoreum and rose. All of these notes do pop up real quickly, guys. As you guys know, the rose mixes in early with the saffron, and then you have the oud. Now, what is the oud like here in Mana? So the oud here in Mana is actually a leathery oud. It is only very slightly animalic, and that is a huge difference with Ombre Nomade that starts off with, you know, your trademark barnyard animalic oud, you know, and that's, I've always said that with Ombre Nomade and other very similar perfumes to Ombre Nomade like Audion Dubai. I've said that, you know, this one is where you want to experience barnyard animalic oud, okay, as is. Now here it is slightly different. The oud is actually leathery, and it is accompanied by cypriol oil and a cashmere accord. So it's kind of like a warm cashmere effect with leathery oud, guys. Okay, that is the feel of the oud here in Mana that is really different from your hardcore barnyard animalic oud from Ombre Nomade. And the rose is actually smooth as well. The rose note here is pretty well blended into the warming cashmere leathery oud. And the big thing right here, guys, that replaces the barnyard part of Ombre Nomade is really castoreum. Okay, guys, castoreum. The castoreum note is the animalic note that is very prominent here in the start to the mid of Nishane Mana, guys. Okay, so if you hate castoreum, you might not like this fragrance, but it is the animalic portion of this fragrance right here. But the oud itself is leathery. It's mixed with a cashmere smooth effect. The rose is not super nuclear at all. And so this really confirms what a lot of people are saying, that this fragrance is a much smoother version of Ombre Nomade. I can definitely attest to that. Now, the initial sillage and projection of this fragrance from start to mid, and I'm talking about 5 to 6 hours right here, is actually powerful. It's strong. Okay, it is more than an aura scent, and it will be noticed. It does leave a very good scent trail as you are moving around. However, the big difference between this and like something like Ombre Nomade is that it's not an exclamation point. It is so smooth and warming and graceful that this will actually match someone that wants the presence, wants the attention, but it's also maybe a low-key type of person right there, kind of like a mafia boss, right? Like you don't really have to move so much to get the attention, or maybe it's your position or rank that already gets the attention. And so because of that, this fragrance might appeal to those that are, you can say, more mature, I would say, or who do not want a lot of like solid attention, that want like a graceful intro with a lot of presence as they walk into a room. I think that this is where Mana is also pretty different from Ombre Nomade. Matter of fact, when I sprayed this fragrance, you know, my wife was around me and she really does not like oud, and she noticed the oud, but afterwards, like, you know, she really didn't tell me to scrub it off or like take it off, because like I said, it really does blend in, and the oud itself is not barnyard at all. So that is a really big change compared to Ombre Nomade. However, you will still get your rose and saffron combination, and that's really where the comparison is at. Now, right here in the dry down, guys, the dry down notes start coming in at around the 5 to 6 hour mark, and that gives you a good amount of coverage to really enjoy that rose saffron oud combination with that smooth, warm cashmere like accord, and a little bit of castoreum right there. But right here on the dry down is when it gets ambery, and you also will get a continuance of the feels of the mid. So there's a lot of continuance notes here on the dry down. Right here on the dry down, you are gonna get a solid amount of labdanum and benzoin, and as you guys know, labdanum is your ambery note with a leathery dimension. So it's definitely a continuance from the leathery oud, but of course amber starts coming in right here. You also are going to get musk, you're going to get patchouli, which mixes in greatly with that rose. It's a great transition into patchouli. And then you are also going to get sandalwood right here. Now for the smoky effect, you are going to get some gaiac wood as well as some incense. Now let me say this, the incense right here is not really that strong. It's sort of like a very well blended incense note that really continues the scent trail aspect of this. More of like the smoky feels of this fragrance gets continued by the incense, but I wouldn't say it's like a really strong smoky incensey dry down right here. I would say it's mostly amber, musk, woods, some smoke with some patchouli, like I said, more of a continuance. So you can experience this for another, 5 to 6 hours like this. And total longevity on this fragrance is over 12 hours. I would say probably 15 even, guys. Okay, it is a long-lasting fragrance, and because of the continuance of notes, especially in the dry down, guys, you really won't feel a thing. This is a fragrance that really doesn't evolve as much. It's more of like a continuance. And so if you like what you smelled on the initial part to the mid, it definitely carries over in some way here in the dry down right here for, again, over 12 hours, possible 15 hours. Now this fragrance right here, Nishane Mana, after trying this fragrance, I definitely agree that this is a wonderful rose oud fragrance that, definitely this is a smooth, warming cashmere version, not so animalic compared to something like Ombre Nomade. However, this genre of rose, saffron, and oud is really, really a packed house, guys, okay? And really, when I smelled this, I thought to myself, like, this smells like a Boudicca. This could be like a Boudicca, because Boudicca the Victorious, for example, and I've reviewed all of them, really has a ton of rose oud fragrances. And the funny thing was, when I checked out who the perfumer was, guess what? It was Christian Provenzano. It was the guy that made all the rose ouds from Boudicca the Victorious. So he basically made another one just for Nishane. So that was really funny that the main Boudicca guy that, made all these rose oud fragrances I already have, made one right here for Nishane. Definitely redundant on the rose oud genre. Saffron rose oud genre, that's for sure. Now with that being said, this fragrance, Nishane Mana, to me is a standalone. Yes, it is a standalone, meaning if you don't have an expensive quality rose oud fragrance, and that's hard to come by nowadays, guys, right? But really, if you don't have any Boudicca's, you don't have Ombre Nomade, then this is definitely a nice place to start. It is not cheap, $600 for 50 ml at this economy, right? That is pretty damn expensive. However, this fragrance to me is first and foremost a special occasions fragrance. It's definitely like an upscale grabber, so I think the 50 ml will really go a long way. And especially as you saw, I only sprayed it twice, so that bottle will go a long way. It's very powerful at 2 sprays. And like I said, this is a standalone, meaning if you already have a ton of Boudicca, you have the Almaz and the Nemer and the Carbon Sapphires, and you have a lot of really expensive rose ouds, this will not mix in with that. I think it will be a very redundant thing to buy. And you might get upset when you find out that, oh my God, it smells like a Boudicca. It smells like a Boudicca rose oud. So definitely this is kind of different if you have nothing else. And if you have Ombre Nomade, this is not a replacement, okay? This is actually comparable just because it's in the rose oud saffron genre. But Ombre Nomade, if you know the execution of Ombre Nomade, it's definitely nuclear, strong. It makes a statement early. And I guess that's why a lot of people like it as well. It makes a very big statement, a splash, if you will, as you walk into a room. This one right here is the smooth talker, smooth walker. Walks in the room, graceful, gracious, alluring, with that smooth scent trail right there, that smokiness. It's really different, I would say. If you like Ombre Nomade, stick to Ombre Nomade. But if you're into like the rose oud, high quality Middle Eastern fragrances, somewhat like Boudicca, I mean, this could have been a Boudicca, then get Nishane Mana. Okay, so that is it. That is my review on Nishane Mana. Let me know on the comments below what y'all think of this fragrance, especially if you have compared this to Ombre Nomade and other rose oud fragrances such as Boudicca. Let me know in the comments below, guys. And again, please do not forget to like and subscribe. I will see you guys on the next video. God bless, take care, peace.